Translate Hales. Editor Fish Creek. Chinmu drew his neck back and stepped into the next chamber. Within sat a bewitching beauty, her gaze drifting toward the sword hall master downstairs as though savoring the scene. Hearing Chinmu's footsteps, she promptly turned, her voice soft as silk as she smiled alluringly. Young master's swordplay is truly peerless. To think you even wounded the sword maniac of the sword hall. This one is deeply impressed. Yet my body is delicate, far less sturdy than that sword maniac. Might I ask young master to be gentle with me? Chinmu blinked, innocent as clear water. I'm only 11, and I'll be 12 this autumn. I don't understand what you're saying. The woman's expression froze for a breath. Then she burst into laughter. I took you for the same as those stinking men and meant to charm you. Yet I forgot you're still young and know nothing of the affairs between men and women. I am the Cathouse Hall master of our sacred cult. In ordinary days we dwell amid places of amusement and are used to playful banter. I had meant to use the arts of seduction, but I only made a fool of myself. Still, I admire that young master could defeat so many hall masters at such an age. However, I will not compete in sword skills or fist skills with you. I shall compete in body techniques. She produced a rouge case and opened it with gentle fingers, a tranquilizing sweetness drifting out like a soft haze. This is my favorite cardamom rouge. You and I shall stain our fingers red and compete in body movements within this room. We are only allowed to smear each other's faces, and whoever bears more finger marks upon the face loses. How is that? Chinmu nodded, smiling as sweetly as spring. All right, please go easy on me, big sister. Sweet talker! The Cathos Hall master was overjoyed and cast him a supercilious glance. She stained all 10 fingers crimson and passed the rouge case to Chinmu, who likewise reddened all 10 fingers. In an instant, the Cathos Hall master moved, her body like a snake slipping through grass. Her vital chi transformed into a serpent's tail and coiled toward Chinmu's legs. Chinmu stared blankly. He had seen this body motion before. It was when he had been at Grandma Temple, where he fought a young girl who used such movement. That girl's vital chi had transformed into a huge snake and coiled around his body. The girl had slithered up and down his body before getting bruised all over by his 1,000-armed Buddha. Could that girl be the disciple of this hall master? Chinmu's feet drove forward. Before the Cathouse Hall master could wrap herself around him, he slipped free. The woman gave a gentle laugh and slithered up the wall. Her snake tail coiled around a pillar in the room, and with intricate finger skills, she struck at Chinmu. Her arms were like spirit snakes, too, able to twist and warp freely. Her 10 fingers were like 10 spirit snakes as well, and what was even more peculiar was that her jade-like fingers could stretch longer and shorten at will. Even her arms could do the same. Chinmu then saw something yet more astonishing. The Cathouse Hall master's body could become thin and long, supple to an eerie degree as if she had no bones at all. She hung from the ceiling like a female python. Chinmu's leg skills shifted without end. As he slithered back and forth upon the ground like a dragon, the Cathouse Hall master likewise slithered freely upon the roof. With her legs above and head below, she attacked Chinmu without pause. Suddenly, Chinmu's vital chi burst forth, and a green dragon wrapped around his body. The green dragon extended its claws and dug them into the wooden walls. Executing his body techniques, Chinmu traveled along walls and ceiling as though walking level earth. He abandoned defense for offense and unleashed 1,000-armed Buddha in a frenzy, striking madly at the Cathouse Hall master. Within the cramped room, the 2 figures moved swift as wind and lightning. Whether on walls or ceiling, they glided as smoothly as if on flat ground. They were like a dragon and a snake locked in ferocious combat, coiling and dancing in strange, eerie spirals. All at once, Chinmu's fingers brushed the Cathouse Hall master's face. 4 red marks bloomed there, and she grew flustered. Chinmu's hands then spread open. Thunder in his palms boomed with a rumble, bewildering her and frightening her out of her wits. When she regained her senses, her face was already covered in finger marks. That's the end, no more. The Cathos Hall master slid down from the ceiling and shook her hand. That's the end, I've lost. My makeup has been smeared by you. Your body techniques are too weird. Even your footsteps are weird as well. I can't catch up with you, much less wrap you up. Chinmu also slid down, smiling. Thanks for letting me win, big sister. Seeing his red lips and white teeth, the Cathouse Hall master couldn't help herself. She planted a kiss on his cheek and smiled. Let me leave you 2 rouge marks as well, so big sister won't lose too miserably. Chinmu's cheeks turned beet red. His heart grew restless as he walked out of the room in a daze. The Cathouse Hall master giggled. If I'd known I could defeat you like this, I would have kissed you earlier. If you have any trouble in the future, just find a Cathouse and tell the girls there that you are looking for Fu Qingyun, and you will be able to find me. Chinmu stood before the next room's door, first steadying his mind back to normal. The youth wiped off the lipstick prints on his face and walked into the next room, thinking to himself, no wonder Grandpa Blind said women are all transformed from demoness. With just a kiss, my heart was almost sucked away. In the next room, there was a female butcher whose face was fiercer than even a male butcher's. She ground a pig slaughtering knife in her hands, a bone pick clenched in her mouth. The moment Chinmu entered, the female butcher swung her blade and slashed toward him without a word. Violent gusts howled through the small room. Every chop was ruthless enough to split his belly open without mercy. Chinmu immediately drew his knife to block. Ding, 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 ding! Crisp pattering rang out like beads striking a jade plate. The two leapt past each other and spun back. The twin knives in the female butcher's hands twisted a full 180 degrees as she seized them in reverse grip. Her eyes shone with excitement as she exclaimed in admiration, "Splendid knife skills." Chinmu also took his pig slaughtering knife in reverse grip and said with caution, "Big sister, you and I are holding our knives in reverse grip, which means the next move should be a sure kill ultimate move. Knives are heartless after all. How about this? Let's use our hands as knives, and take care not to overdo it." The female butcher flung her pig slaughtering knives away. They stabbed into the wall as she smiled. "You're right. Reverse grip means we're going to kill. If I kill you, Cult Mistress will definitely be furious and kill me. Let's fight barehanded." Chinmu's vital chi whirled and swept his pig slaughtering knife up to sheath it back. With a jolt of his hands, flames ignited into 2 knives. The female butcher trembled her hands, and blade edges appeared around them. It was White Tiger Vital Chi, whose sharpness was unmatched. Swinging both hands to slash the air, she pounced at Chinmu. "Young master, your fire knives will be at a disadvantage. They aren't as sharp as White Tiger Vital Chi." Chinmu's gaze flickered. The moving flames flowed downward and extended to his small arms as if he were holding them in reverse grip. Pig slaughtering knife skill 3rd form. Raising the knife from forbidden. The two nearly pressed their bodies together as their footsteps shifted without cease. Their knives were so close, they didn't even need to look. By sensing the force surging from the other's body, they could read each movement and answer at once, whether offense or defense. The essence of reverse grip was closeness. Minimize the swing. Maximize speed and treacherous angles. This was the highest realm of battle method among battle techniques. Whether of the spell factions or the divine arts faction, if they allowed an expert of the battle techniques school to close in like this, they would surely die. All 640 muscles in Chinmu's body trembled continuously beneath his skin, granting him the greatest burst of power within the shortest distance. In only a short time, both Chinmu and the female butcher were drenched in sweat. For them to mobilize so many muscles in such a brief span, while calculating the opponent's muscle trajectories to defend against the most vicious attacks, and also cut down the opponent, consumed tremendous energy. Suddenly, with his hands as knives, Chinmu's hands slipped into a gap below the female butcher. Raising his hand upward, he cleanly sliced apart the oily apron before her chest. The female butcher stepped back, dismissed the White Tiger Vital Chi from her hands, then took off the apron, split into 2 halves and tossed it aside, laughing heartily. "I've lost and you've won. Your knife skills ain't bad. If you can't walk through all 360 houses, you can always come with me and slaughter pigs for a living." Chinmu felt a favorable impression toward this chubby big sister and smiled. "I can still refine medicine and not necessarily have to slaughter pigs. I can also be a doctor to help the people." The female butcher spat out the bone pick in her mouth and sneered. "A doctor?" If your patient died during your treatment, the victim's family would make you compensate them until you were bankrupt. It's still better for you to slaughter pigs. It's a stable job. If you slaughter pigs with me, I'll make sure you eat well and live well. Chinmu's head started to swell as he inched away, mumbling, "We'll see, we'll see. I'm still young now." "Young master." The female butcher raised her hands, pulled the 2 pig-slaughtering knives from the wall, and stopped him in his tracks as she said in a solemn tone, "When you go back and meet Cult Mistress, do tell her that I, Bi Yao, miss her quite a lot and still remember her good." Chinmu nodded. The female butcher, Bi Yao, walked downstairs and stepped out into the village, only to hear a sudden crash. Lifting her head, she saw the wall of the wooden building explode outward as the snake-catcher hallmaster flew down, plunging headfirst into the ground and shattering the stone pavement. Just as Bi Yao hurried forward and was about to pull the snake-catcher hallmaster from the crater, another bang rang out. Another man shot out from the shattered wall, flailing his limbs before smacking face-first into the opposite building. Bang! Yet another deafening sound boomed as the Divinity Hallmaster blasted out through the wall he had smashed. Before he could even land, a devilish chant drifted down from above, "Bore Bore Samoye!" A violent tremor rolled through the air as the traveling merchant hallmaster followed and was flung out as well. Bi Yao tugged the snake-catcher hallmaster out of the ground, looked up, and muttered to herself, "Young Master Mu's warm-up has just ended, and he's starting to get serious." Translator Ninetales. Editor Fish Creek. The people in the courtyard grew more and more. Tall and short, fat and thin, all walks of life gathered there. Yet at this moment they shared a single likeness. Every pair of eyes was lifted toward that utterly dilapidated wooden building, now riddled through with thousands of holes. At last, the wood hall master was beaten down, and the entire wooden building collapsed to the ground. Within the wreckage, a green dragon coiled about his body. He threw punch after punch, blasting away the splintered timbers hurtling at him, and strode toward the second building. Bang, bang, bang. The wooden building shuddered without pause, as though some enormous beast were rampaging within. The second building fared no better than the first. The walls burst apart as figures flew out one after another. Chinmu's pace grew faster and faster. Plainly, after defeating hallmaster after hallmaster, he was devouring battle experience, sharpening his battle awareness, and elevating his skill. Rumble. The second building collapsed, dust billowing into the air. Chinmu then advanced into the third building. Night descended. In the village of the Heavenly Devil Cult, the stone basins atop stone pillars were filled with flammable oil and set alight. Inside the village it was bright as day, yet outside lay pitch-black darkness. When the village's light touched that darkness, the light would be swallowed by it. Within and without were 2 different worlds. Amid the fiery glow, over 300 hallmasters of the Heavenly Devil Cult stood in the village, raising their heads to look at the last wooden building. There were 9 wooden buildings in total. Each building had 40 hallmasters, guarding 40 rooms. By now, Chinmu had fought his way to the 9th building and was about to reach the top. Young Master Mu hasn't taken a rest for an entire day and night. Am I right? Cathouse Hallmaster replied softly. He started fighting since morning, and other than having lunch and dinner, it seems like he hasn't stopped fighting yet. Windriding Hallmaster said, "It's almost morning, and he is about to reach the top of the 9th building. Doesn't his energy and vital chi seem too plentiful? It doesn't appear that he had used up any at all. In addition, his stamina is so powerful that it's scary. However, the few fellows at the top floor of the 9th building aren't that easy to deal with either." On the top floor, the 4 people were the 4 great cornerstones of all 360 Hallmasters: Green Dragon, Vermilion Bird, White Tiger, and Black Tortoise. These 4 halls corresponded to the 4 great spirit bodies, and therefore, the chosen Hallmasters were outstanding talents who were carefully picked. These 4 halls had the strongest martial power among all 360 halls. The other Hallmasters all have their own talents and managed a single profession, whereas these 4 halls were only in charge of battle prowess. In the history of Heavenly Devil Cult, most of the Cult Protector Elders come from these 4 halls. Even some cult masters had come from these 4 halls. The room in which Chinmu had entered was the White Tiger Hall Master's Room. White Tiger Vital Chi specializes in sharpness and is unbreakable. Back when the cult master, Li Tianxing, was killed wretchedly on his wedding night, and the cult mistress having vanished with the cult's legacy Holy Bible, the 4 Great Hall Masters were all trained by the Devil Cult Patriarch to take over as the next cult master. Though he didn't expect them to be able to expand Heavenly Devil Cult, he wanted them to not be swallowed up by Eternal Peace Empire. Even though the 4 Great Hall Masters didn't reach the anticipation of Devil Cult Patriarch, they all had astonishing growth in strength. Despite White Tiger Hall Master having sealed his other divine treasures and leaving his Spirit Embryo divine treasure open, he was still a formidable enemy that Chinmu had never met before. This woman had refined her vital chi into an extremely durable vital chi thread. However, she didn't cultivate any methods of using chi to manipulate sword. Her vital chi thread itself was her sword. It was almost impossible to see her vital chi thread clearly. When Chinmu stepped into the room, the White Tiger Hall Master had her vital chi thread extending out from her 10 fingers and draped around all corners of the room, making it difficult for Chinmu to walk. Her body was like an enchanting demoness in the great ruins. She was extremely flexible and moved freely in the room. Her fingertips had waves and waves of vital chi swords shooting out in all directions towards Chinmu. They appeared to be her fingernails, yet they also seemed like flexible swords that could control their lengths freely. Moving like a feline, she was extremely nimble in the small room. Whether it was the walls or the ceilings, they were all like flat ground to her. This battle was very tiring. Chinmu used his pig-slaughtering knife to cut down the fine vital chi thread in the room, but every strand was extremely durable and hard to cut apart. Furthermore, the White Tiger Hall Master kept putting up more threads with her trusty hands, disabling Chinmu from defending against it. On the other hand, the White Tiger Hall Master could move freely in her room and even use her limbs to stand on her vital chi thread, traveling to and fro as if she was flying. Using her vital chi as a thread, her flexible sword was very peculiar. It could curve in all ways and even bend 18 times, showing that her sword skills were not weak as well. Chinmu was repeatedly wounded, as he was required to be careful of both her vital chi thread as well as her vital chi sword, making it very tiring for him. Whether it was the old May's fist skills or the cripple's leg skills, he was unable to execute it. In addition, Butcher's knife skills couldn't be unleashed properly due to all the obstruction. Thus he was at a disadvantage. Finally, with a stab of his sword, the wooden sword managed to hit the White Tiger Hall Master in the chest even after it was split into 2 by her vital chi thread. It pinned her to the wall and sent her out of the wooden building, when the wall shattered. Chinmu raised his knife to cut away all the vital chi thread in the room, and then took out medicine to apply on himself before bandaging up his wounds. Sitting down, he took the time to recuperate and ate the food provided in the room. When the pain from his body has subsided, his stamina also recovered quite a bit. Breaking a few planks, he used pig-slaughtering knife to shave them into wooden swords and placed them on his back before entering the next room. He had defeated 357 rooms out of 360 rooms. Now he was left with the last 3 rooms. His stamina and will had reached their maximum limits. The humming sound in his head was like the commotion of 1,000 men. He had never been so exhausted before, and he wanted to lie on the floor to sleep more than anything else. Even his spirit embryo wasn't as active as it was before and was lacking in vitality. He was no longer holding on to his will, but from his mechanical way of battling, to fight on relying on his instinct. There was only one thought in his mind. These people can't take away Granny C, who had raised him up. His parents may have given him life, but it was Granny C who had saved his life and raised him up painstakingly. Granny C was his mother and his closest kin. In the next room, the Green Dragon Hall Master came. When he saw Chinmu walking over, he frowned. "Young Master Mu, you don't look okay. There's no need to rush. You can always take a break first." Before he could even finish speaking, Chinmu raised his hand and stabbed forward. In a flash, the wooden sword flew straight towards Green Dragon Hall Master's body and blew him away. In a daze, Chin-Mu turned around and lifted his legs mechanically, slowly walking to the next room. Bang! The wooden wall of the next room exploded open as Black Tortoise Hallmaster used his Black Tortoise shield to block Chin-Mu's sword. However, he didn't expect the terrifying strength that was hidden in the sword to blow him away as well. Chin-Mu slowly walked out of this room and moved to the next room with heavy footsteps. "Young Master Mu, I can wait for you to rest first." Bang! Chin-Mu stabbed forward and sent the Vermilion Bird Hallmaster flying. "It's done?" Chin-Mu was stumped. Suddenly, all his remaining strength seeped out of his body and his legs turned limp, causing him to fall to the ground. In the distance, he could hear the clucking of the hen dragon from disabled elderly village. That was the sound the hen dragon makes after laying its egg. However, the youth was simply too exhausted and fell into a deep slumber soon after. At this moment, his spirit embryo frantically absorbed the golden light in his spirit embryo divine treasure and fell into a slumber as well. Chin-Mu had no idea how long he slept. When he woke up in a daze, he seemingly saw village chief and apothecary and heard their voices from high up as if they were very far away. There isn't too much of a problem, it's just that he's too exhausted. Chin-Mu then fell back asleep. He woke up several times and saw many faces beside him. Sometimes it was Granny C, other times it was the young patriarch of Heavenly Devil Cult. He wanted to say something, but he had no energy and once again fell back asleep. When Chin-Mu woke up again, he felt soreness all over his body, but he was energized. The wounds on his body had also scabbed and had started to peel off. It must have been apothecary reapplying ointments on him. He sat up again and glanced around. He noticed that he was still in the room of the Vermilion Bird Hallmaster, and the surroundings were quiet without any sound. My spirit embryo is asleep again. Chin-Mu checked his body and discovered that other than his spirit embryo being silent, there were no major problems. Therefore, he endured the soreness in his body and tried to stand up. Supporting himself on the stairs, he slowly walked downstairs. Every movement and every step caused excruciating pain in his muscles. When he finally reached the first floor with difficulty, he walked out of the wooden building and raised his head to have a look and was stunned by the sight. The village of Heavenly Devil Cult was filled with people, and most of them were familiar faces. He had seen all 360 Hallmasters, and they were all in the crowd. Other than the Hallmasters, there were also unfamiliar faces. There were strong workers that were 30 yards tall, white-haired elders, solemn left and right guardians, 4 great cult heavenly kings, and 8 great supervisors. They were either standing or sitting, and all of them were waiting silently without making a sound. Seeing Chin-Mu walking out from the wooden building, they all rose one after another and had their gaze on Chin-Mu with a solemn expression. The young patriarch of the Devil Cult was standing at the village entrance alongside the village chief, apothecary, Old Ma, and the rest. Granny C was also standing there with a complicated expression as she looked at Chin-Mu. Suddenly, 4 elders bowed and their resonating voice pierced the clouds. The 4 great cult heavenly kings of the sacred cult pay our respects to young cult master. Chin-Mu stared blankly and didn't know what to do. However, more voices rang out in unison. The left and right guardians of the sacred cult pay our respects to young cult master. The 8 great supervisors of the sacred cult pay our respects to young cult master. The 12 cult protector elders of the sacred cult pay our respects to young cult master. An even more resonating voice rang out. It was the deafening voice of all 360 Hallmasters shouting in unison. The 360 Hallmasters of the sacred cult pay our respects to young cult master. When had Chin-Mu ever seen this kind of spectacle before? He couldn't help but feeling flustered and looked pleadingly at village chief, Granny C, and the rest. However, they remained where they were and looked from afar. The cowherd boy of disabled elderly village composed himself and suddenly had a calm bearing as he slowly raised both of his hands and spoke in a steady pace. "You may all rise." "Thank you, young cult master."